Hello. Okay. Welcome to Overfunctioning, conversations for women who carry a lot. We're your hosts, Jolene Altman and Brittanie Zwart. We are therapists, but we're not your therapist. We spend our days supporting high capacity, thoughtful, and overwhelmed women. We are also these women. On this podcast, we talk honestly about the mental load, the invisible labor, the ambition, the motherhood, the relationships, the expectations, and the costs of being the one who always handles it. If you're competent, capable, and quietly carrying more than most people see, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Thanks, Brittany. I'm Jolene,
I'm
and that's
ready.
Brittany. Yeah, we're both therapists. We've both been in the field for, many years. We are both midlife moms,
Mhm.
and we both overfunction. So if
Sure
that's
do.
you, you're in the right place. We're in it with you. But it might be helpful to say, what is overfunctioning for us to sort of say, like, when did we notice that we were overfunctioning first? And by proxy, what is that, right? So
Yeah.
I think that for me, I first noticed that I was overfunctioning when my kids were small. So I have a 12 and a half and a 14 and a half year old. Brittany's kids are a little younger. They're
7 and 3.
three, right? 3 and 7. And when my kids were maybe like 2 and 4, I started to feel this overwhelming sense of constant doing,
Hmm.
this overwhelming sense of constant holding everything, and a very quiet voice in the back of my head saying, keep going, keep going. And then that voice got louder and louder, like as I went. I was in my late 30s, maybe at this point, I think. Wait, let me think. Yeah, I was in my late 30s. So, I just was like, do more, do more. And it was like, I would get like 5 jobs. I was like, and then I'd be like, wait a minute. I want to be home for preschool time. It was just a lot of moving parts.
Hmm.
And I just kept saying to myself, like, well, you've got to do all this. You've got to do it all.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that voice just got louder. And I think it was when the voice got louder around the time of COVID, actually. So, right. So my kids were like, like 6 and 8. When I like, COVID made me like crash and burn and go, holy cow, I've been doing a lot.
Mm.
It made me reflect on how fast I had been going.
I think that was a lot of people.
Yes. And so I think, and that, right. And then I was like in my early 40s and, I just started to crash and burn right before kind of perimenopause years. When did you kind of first notice, Brittany?
Well, as we've been thinking about this and talking about this, I'm like, there's a difference between how long have I been overfunctioning and when did I notice, right?
Right.
And so, like, the notice has probably been more so pushed to the surface, as in hard to overfunction well since having kids without there being like what felt like really big costs to the overfunctioning, right? Like, but I've been an overworker or doing too mucher probably my whole life in some way. I grew up
Same.
in a family with a lot of like jobs that they either overworked or were very demanding lifestyle jobs like farming and stuff like that, right? Where like your job is your lifestyle, right? So I always had lots of jobs and lots of like took the full caseload credits, right? In college, worked a 25-hour or more job in grad school, full caseload credits, blah, blah, working 2 jobs, all of the things. And so I've always been overdoing. And then unfortunately, that carried over into being a professional, right? So carrying the most caseload, getting the highest utilization, and like unfortunately wearing it as like the badge of honor of like, if I could just do all the things, like, look at me, I can just overfunction so well. And I didn't see it as an overfunctioning issue or problem until having kids. And that's where I was like, wait a minute. And it's because I had like pieces in conflict, right? I had this part that wanted to overfunction professionally, wanted to still see all the comparison, which we might get to in the future sessions of like where we compare ourselves to others, like everybody else doing all the things, and they seem like they can manage it, they can do it well, they can do all the things, not knowing what's behind the scenes. And then also the conflict you're talking about, like want to be there for the preschool drop off and the preschool pickup. And so like I can either overfunction and try to act like I'm a full-time employee of my own business as though I have childcare in an extension, or I can be a full-time mom, but I want to be full-time both. So what do I do? So
Right.
the choice is the overfunction, right? And I feel like, we've been kind of fed this story, whether it's fair or not, that like the you can have it all doesn't mean you can have it all with supports. It means you can do it all.
I think that's such a great distinction. Recently there was an AI ad, and maybe this will click for people, for women, like what is overfunctioning? There's an AI ad about how now AI, there's a huge billboard that says AI, she,
First of all, what? She.
right,
Okay. We know who we're targeting.
she will always show up. She will never call in sick. She'll always tend to whatever you need. Who's seen this billboard? I have seen it. It's all over my algorithm. And it's not,
What are they trying to sell?
they're trying to sell AI
In place of what? Right? Like us
in
as
place
partners?
of
We're what?
people who call in sick, Brittany. I don't know, right? So like the point is though, the
Girl, no.
feminization of it, right? The making it female is not, it's not an accident.
Correct.
Our podcast is a place for women who feel like they have been
Mhm.
taught to do all of this. And so like let's maybe think about that. What do we do? Like what is overfunctioning?
Wait a
We
minute. I want to check
are
that billboard because I feel like it's low-key shaming women for humanity.
100% like being sick or having a need, right? Putting a need before, I mean, it's wild.
Well, I'm not
And
showing up
women
for work because maybe I'm the default parent and I have a sick kid, so I can't come in today.
100%. I want to tell this story really fast, and this is sort of off the cuff, but I feel like it's so. I want to set the tone for our podcast for our listeners, and I feel like because this story just happened, it's so fresh for me. My son, who's 12 and a half, we watched this show called Blackish, which is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Good show.
If you haven't seen it, watch it with your kids because it's
Yeah.
great
So funny.
discussions about race. It's great discussion about, your age appropriate kids. Obviously, my son's 12 and a half, so it's age appropriate. So we were watching this episode last night about the mom in the show being black and being a feminist.
Mm-hmm.
And my kids I'm white and my husband is Mexican, so my kids are mixed.
Mm-hmm.
And my son is asking me as a white woman, Mom, are you a feminist? He's asking me all these questions about feminism yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, so we got into this really cool discussion because, like, he's 12 and he's a boy. And so, like, his understanding's limited, right? And I get it.
He's right on the
Some
cusp
stuff
of
is
learning.
complicated, it's nuanced. But for the first time, I explained the history of women, how, no, black people were actual slaves. So I want to make the distinction, right? I was like, listen, son, until the 1970s, women could not have their own checking account.
Mm-hmm.
You had to have a male family member. And he's like, what's a checking account? I was like, your money.
Mm-hmm.
I could not access my
Access
money.
to your own money, independent money. Mm-hmm.
So I was explaining to my son the history of women's rights. And I feel like this plays into what is overfunctioning because we have had to prove our worth,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Forever. And so it's tied into that. And I feel like, that's such a good contextual lens to understand overfunctioning for women.
Yes. Yes. Well, and in the workplace, overfunctioning in men, like you're just talking about, makes me think of the statistic that women will not apply for jobs if they don't meet 100% of the job description, and men will apply for the jobs if they meet, like, I'm going to misquote the statistic, but we're going to say 50 to 75%. And I'll have clients all the time that'll be like, I'm not fully qualified for that job. And I'm like, put in your fucking application.
No one is.
Nobody
is.
Won't let them reject you. I always say, let them reject it. Let them tell you no. Like, what is the
100%.
thing you don't meet? What is it? Tell me what it is. Okay.
So that's a form
Like,
of overfunctioning, right? Thinking that you have to hit the mark every time, right?
Yeah, and it's designed by the patriarchy, right?
100%. So
Like a
that's the
woman has
good
to be
contextual
100%.
lens as we pull this apart. Overfunctioning. Let's just like list off some of the characteristics, right? Default manager and planner, the scheduler,
Mm-hmm.
right? When does the kid go to the doctor? When do I go to the
Mom,
doctor?
when do we have this? And you're just supposed to pull it from your memory.
100%.
No, hello.
Right. Who's the planner of all things? Probably if you are in a heteronormative, heterosexual relationship, the female.
Hmm.
Anticipating all the needs, right? Thinking that ticker is always thinking ahead, anticipating people's needs. And that's also not on accident, right? We had
Yeah.
to do that for safety for a lot of reasons, for those historical reasons I just said, where we're anticipating what people need so we can meet those needs so that we have value, right? We're
Yes, and also to keep things running smoothly. The least amount of bumps means the least amount of actual labor for you as the main manager anyway, right? If I don't anticipate that we need these tie-dye shirts for or these t-shirts for the tie-dye event on Tuesday, then that means either the kids miss out and we feel bad, or somebody's running at the last minute to the store. Maybe me, maybe you, but either way, there's a whole exchange about it, right? So if I overfunction, look ahead and like anticipate all the needs, no one, it's the invisible labor. Have you ever heard? There was
oh
this
yeah.
reel, maybe some of the listeners have seen it. There was this reel called The Magic Table. And I was like, I
No,
use it all the time in therapy. I talk about when we talk about
love this.
disparities in labor in the home and invisible labor, and how women will try to like motivate their partner to take on more labor, and the partners don't quite understand what labor it is because to them it's invisible, right? And so this in this like reel, the magic table, or maybe it was a skit somewhere. The husband's talking to the wife about how she's so stressed, and he's like, "Don't worry about it, babe. The magic table will take care of it." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Over here," like takes her over by her hand. "Let me show you the magic table. I just put stuff on this table and it's done. It just disappears." And she's like, "Who the fuck do you think takes care of the magic table? I'm the magic table." Right? And he
I
was like,
love that.
"What? You're the magic table?" Like, so I'll be like, are
What a
all the ways that we
great.
are just the magic table because it keeps things running smoothly and smooth for
Yes,
us, but
we take
at an
we
expense.
yeah, we take responsibility for that magic table before it's even discussed,
Yeah.
asked, whatever, right?
The
And
data
we
shows
struggle.
that women are conditioned from little on to be noticers, and that the men are not. Like gendered boys are not conditioned to be
Yes,
noticers, they're conditioned to be helpers. Helper implies you await your delegation.
that's
Right?
right.
So if I'm raised to be a noticer, then it's my job to generate the list. That means when I go sit down on the couch, I can't help but notice. My helper next to me was raised to be a helper. So unless someone tells me what to do, I'm off duty. I don't have to do the noticing. I'm waiting for my action, right? Waiting for my delegation. And that's why, like, you can even see in the data too, why women will be more likely to report depressive symptoms when home chores are overwhelming and clutter is unmanaged, and men don't, and they don't understand, like, why can't you just sit down and watch a show with me, babe? And it's like, because I literally am overwhelmed and depressed, my nervous system cannot let down.
Yes.
The magic
I love
table.
that. Yeah, no, it's true. The data definitely says that. And listeners, are you nodding your head to all these things, right? Like you're
Do you two
probably
have a magic table?
relating, right? Like, do you struggle to delegate or have appropriate people like follow through on delegations?
Yeah.
Right. Like you're saying, I just do it
Resentment.
all myself.
Hmm.
And then after we've done this for so long, we feel so resentful. We're solving invisible problems that no one notices. One time on vacation, this was, I don't know, about 7 years ago, right? So I'm still mostly packing for my kids. And, probably saying to everybody, here's what you need to bring. Here's what you
Yeah.
need to bring.
Do you have your favorite
Doing the
toy?
packing, doing the preparing. We got to our destination. Lo and behold, I did not pack any underwear for myself. Everybody else has everything that they need. And so, guess who I ask? My mother is on this trip, and guess who I ask to borrow a pair of underwear from until I can get to the store to buy underwear? My mother. And guess who selflessly gives me her underwear? My mother.
Yeah, because who
Right? I
understands
mean,
better but another mom?
yes, I forgot. I forgot my own underwear. So I think this is like,
Because you were
listen,
so busy managing everybody else's
I was
stuff.
so busy, I forgot about myself, my own
Yeah.
needs. I
That's
think the
so the
other
metaphor for pouring from the empty cup too, right? Like,
Yes. I think the other thing that we think about with overfunctioning is like difficulty resting, even if there's nothing urgent,
yeah.
right? So actually allowing for us to say, hey, I'm going to idle in a place of not doing right now or tending to myself right now feels very uncomfortable, unfamiliar, confusing,
Mhm.
and maybe even unknown.
Well, and rest,
Um,
like people consider rest about like, what's this phrase we keep always saying? Rest is productive.
yes. Yes. Rest
because the people were
repair.
like, I didn't get anything done. I rotted, right? Rotted on the couch, I think the kids say, right?
Yeah.
So the rotting implies that like there's something bad happening, that you were there too long and you decayed. I get why the kids quote, right? The Gen Zers are saying it.
Yeah.
But what it really is like the idea that we need permission to rest, and rest is productive for the nervous system. It's productive for repairing, it's productive for creativity, white space, all of these things. But we have to use the word productive because we've been so conditioned by capitalism to look down on rest, right? And look down on so many other things, which, the pendulum swing from rest is overfunction, right? Like there's both.
Absolutely. And then it be like a competence is actually a skill,
Mhm.
but over functioning is different, right? Than competence. Like we all want to be competent, right? But over functioning becomes an identity that's wrapped up in our nervous systems feeling safe because it's how we feel worth. And once we begin to understand and notice our nervous system's lack of safety,
Mhm.
in non over functioning,
Yeah.
we can really start to untangle it, which is what's cool about therapy, right? I
Well, and
think,
I'm
like,
thinking about like nervous system, like we're talking about overfunctioning as a fawn or a people-pleasing response, right? Like if I
yes,
anticipate everybody else's needs, their emotions stay stable, which means I don't either have to manage their emotions if they were my grown-ups and I was a child, right? Or my own kids don't have to have the meltdown that I have to manage. And like then I can stay regulated and safe too, right? So like our interconnected nervous systems and how they trigger or speak to each other.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a
So
lot.
it is. So why we overfunction, like we just talked about right there, is establishing nervous system safety, right? I think especially for women, when you think about being like a caretaker as a child, if you were an oldest daughter, right? Like we're praised for maturity, handling it yourself, not needing help, right? There's a phrase that a lot of my clients are similar, right? And so, because like we have our niche and they'll say, like, I was the one that no one ever had to worry about or check on. And so that comes out of
Yeah.
overfunctioning, right? Like even as a child, anticipating how do I make sure I never need help? And that gets reinforced by your grown-up saying, like, you did a really good job doing that age inappropriate thing. Do it again because I didn't have to work for you then, right?
I had a client once say to me, and I asked her if I could quote her. So, like, it's we're good.
Yeah.
I had a client, and I use this all the time, and I love this phrase. She says, "I'm the adultiest adult I know." Like, whenever somebody's looking for the adult in the room, she's like, I'm the adult in the room, but I don't feel like the adult in the room, but I'm the
Never, because it was
agency.
born out of childhood. Mhm.
Yes, she's like, I'm the adultiest adult I know, and it's exhausting.
Yes. And also because people look to me, it reinforces that I have to stay the adultiest adult. There's no room for someone else to be my adult. Talking about like overfunctioning and why does it happen, right? We talked about being praised for maturity as a kid and being independent and not needing help, right? That reinforces hyper independence. I feel like that correlates very well
What's
with,
hyper independent? So that means
yeah,
like
hyper
only
independence is like,
relying on yourself, not
yes.
delegating because
Also, never
that's not in
asking
your
for,
wheelhouse.
yeah, and not ever, hyper independence also is like task oriented, never asking for help, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But it's also emotional, never asking for help, right? Hyper independence is like, I don't need friends, I don't need people because honestly, they either always let me down or they've left
Mm-hmm.
me, or I've never been taught it's been safe to like help and need other people. And so then you get into like marital relationships or long-term relationships and you start to unravel like, whoa, is this my hyper independence showing up? And how do I do interdependence, which is like a healthy connection that our nervous systems need and our attachments need, right? But we get praised in childhood for hyper independence, often well intended by parents. They think they're preparing you,
Yeah.
but it's
I'm
also,
encouraging you to
yeah,
launch. This
yeah, we
is
have to
like
be really
your,
careful.
yes.
And then that type of hyper independence also trains us up, and gender expectations, like we talked about earlier. Often helpers are over functioners are hyper independent. You think about all the helping professions, do more with less. So, like, just do more, right? Always the responsible one's the adultiest adult, right? Like, I have the answer. Even if I'm not sure it's the answer, I speak confidently, right? Like, I can be relied on to be the one to figure it out. Even if I don't know the answer, I know how to find the answer, right? Coping by being useful, like what is my value if I'm not useful to people or doing something for them? I often like think about when I see people online giving lots of gifts to each other in like non-typical gift giving circumstances, right? And I'll be like, that's an interesting overfunction because
Right.
often you find that people that are doing that, they're either doing it because they're following certain wealth social norms, right? Or there's this piece about like, this is how they demonstrate that they love and care. And like, I can't show up and spend time with my person without bringing something for them. If I were to do that and show up without bringing something, they might not be as excited to see me, right? Like, what do I have to offer? So, like, being useful, anticipating even other people's needs and happiness outside of like the people you're responsible to care for.
Yeah,
Uh,
and getting praise. You're so thoughtful. How
yes,
many times have you heard that in your life? You're
so
so
fond.
thoughtful. Yeah, because my brain thinks at a million miles an hour.
I don't get that as much maybe as you do. I mean, I am a
I
thoughtful
do.
individual, but I don't get that a lot because one of my areas of overfunctioning I struggle with is being
Mm,
consistent outside of my family, my immediate family. So like I
that's
might be like,
so
"Oh, I
good.
remembered to send a card for this thing then," and then the next year I'm like, "I forgot."
Well, I think we're getting into something interesting. Both of us have ADHD, but
Yep.
for me, part of this overfunction in ADHD is sort of masking what I might perceive as a flaw.
Mm.
And it's also rejection sensitivity. And so,
Yes.
how do I stave up? What is rejection sensitivity? It's like perceiving that somebody's not fully accepting me or perceiving that somebody doesn't find worth in me. So if
Yeah.
I'm an
Yeah.
over functioner and I have ADHD, I am definitely showing up to the party with a bottle of wine or something, right? A
It's the best fucking
candle,
gift there. I'm making sure it's the best one because yeah,
because I need that affirmation that I have worth. So it's this double
yeah.
whammy,
The other thing
right?
about RSD that's really important to mention for listeners, because rejection sensitivity dysphoria is it's a nervous system dysregulation. So it's not just like I'm having big feelings out of nowhere. It's my nervous system. So like your body, those of you listening, your body does its thing, right? My nervous system is my fight or flight, my protection system. So RSD is real or perceived criticism, feedback, or rejection that then causes a bodily nervous system response that your body receives as a threat in the same way like being chased by a tiger. So some people might approach or notice a person having an RSD episode and they might not get it. If you're a person who doesn't have RSD, you don't understand that like this is not optional. This is a nervous system
Right.
response.
It's
And
hyper attunement. It's
yeah,
hyper
yeah,
attunement.
yes, and I think it speaks to like when you talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs of all the things we need, like we need our food, we need our water, we need our this. We also need belonging and connection because we are evolved animals, right? And so a threat of rejection means being rejected from the tribe, which means I might not survive,
I might
right?
die.
Yes, and so
And
like
that's how your body really
yes,
feels because
so I have to bring this wine.
interestingly,
I have to bring this
right,
wine so I don't die.
interestingly,
Yeah.
because it feels like I need to be accepted no matter what because otherwise I'm going to be kicked out of the tribe and die.
Yeah, I feel like when it's first on the forefront for people and they haven't figured out how to manage it and how to regulate their nervous system around it and recognize and anticipate perceived threats, right? Not so I can prevent, but so I can prepare. Like I can handle this and how do I deal with it? It can be very like it can feel like a roller coaster. And then it also is a thing that like the self-criticism part is like I can't tell people about this because logically I
Ugh.
know that this is ridiculous. And
Well,
however,
and most people
my
don't
body
even
is
know
telling
it's
me
happening
otherwise.
like that
That
until you
feeling.
start to process it. And, it's interesting because once you notice it, it's hard to turn it off. And that creates a whole other,
Yeah,
but that's for
awareness.
another day. That's
Yes,
for another
yes,
day when we deep dive
yeah.
ADHD.
But I do
Maybe we'll
think,
cap that. But
and I
yeah,
do feel like the RSD is worth circling back to that piece about anticipating needs as a form of
mm,
preventing RSD, right? Like part of my overfunction can be let's,
trying to prevent
yeah, trying to
or
prevent.
managing, because we can't really prevent fully, but managing RSD comes
Yeah.
in. Oh, I'm going to bring the bottle of wine so that I don't feel. Then I know I've done my job for my tribe and I'm not going to get
Yes,
eaten
yes.
by the tiger because I'm alone.
It might not be the
Yes.
best wine, but it can't be the worst wine, and so then I'll be okay, right? Like, because at
Yes.
least I remembered. And so, like, anticipating needs is a form of self-preservation. Also, overfunctioning, again, all of it is a form of self-preservation, right? If you're thinking through the lens of parts work, listeners, you might not really know about parts work, but you've probably heard this phrase like, part of me feels this way, part of me feels that way, or I feel mixed feelings. And so it's this concept that, like, there are many different experiences within us, many different, like, entities for lack not to sound ghosty but like entities and like parts and dynamics the many parts of Brittanie for example And so my overfunctioning part is when she is not managed by self, and my other parts is to keep me safe in some way, right? Like, and so that's another reason about like, why are we overfunctioning? It's all a level of perceiving that overfunctioning keeps me safe, whether it keeps me safe from rejection, keeps me safe from stress, keeps me safe from perceived crisis, hunger, poverty if I'm not working hard enough, or mom guilt if I'm not, making enough memories with my kids, right? Feeling like I'm doing all the things to give them the best childhood. Maybe I'm over functioning to prevent myself from feeling like I'm, giving my kids a mediocre life. Or maybe I'm over functioning because we are hyper independent and we've got trauma relationships in our extended family. And so grandparents don't show up, they aren't consistent. I don't have a village. So I over function to be my child's village so they don't notice the absence I feel like I notice for them, right? Like things like that. So again, always a form of self-protection. Some people, their overfunctioning shows up. I find that most of us are prone to it earlier in life, but we talk about it showing up in postpartum, right? Like the motherhood gatekeeping. And so I can maternal gatekeep and overfunction about what is the researching, what is the best bottle and what is the best this, and like all of what's the best way to do the baby led weaning and how do you start with the broccoli and all of those things of like, you love this little creature so much and you want all of the best things for them and you want them to stay safe. So you start overdoing everything. Again, all of it as a form of self-protection, right? Anticipating their needs, preventing this, like they can't experience any discomfort, especially gentle parenting. We're like, oh gosh, you can't let your baby cry ever. I
Yeah.
think what can help people with that is feeling cared for by others. So this piece of like, I can set something down if I can trust that someone else will notice or pick it up. But if they can't, I can't turn it off. It's not enough to just say, um, I'm doing a lot of this, so I should stop doing it. It's not like when we overfunction, the things we're overfunctioning about are fabricated, right? They're very real things, like very
Right.
real stressors, very real needs, very real tasks that have to be managed. And if I don't do it, who will? And what is the consequence of not doing it? And so often, if you don't have another person that you can trust in some way, shape, or form to hold the space or set it down, like noticing, like you said earlier, noticing with RSD, noticing with overfunctioning doesn't necessarily yield enough of a positive outcome. Great. Now I'm aware. Now what the fuck do I do with that? Now I just feel frustrated that I'm seeing how often it's happening, right? Because it costs
Well,
a lot.
yeah, like what is, and that, yeah, what is the cost? I think that's the thing that there's a lot of chatter online about now. What is the cost of overfunctioning?
Yeah.
And, I think there's a lot. We talked, kind of touched about having resentment, right?
Mhm.
And, the obvious one is having resentment maybe in with your primary partner, right? In a
Yeah, whether they're
relationship
aware they should be
marriage.
resented or not, right? Maybe I never even spoke any of this to them, and yet I still have the
Right.
resentment. Mhm.
Right. But there can be resentments that come up in old stuff about how
Mhm.
you were parented,
Totally.
perhaps also maybe having resentment about having to feel like you have to sign up for everything with your kids, or there are so many levels of resentment. And what I find is a lot of women say, I've been scared to say this out loud,
Yeah.
like the true extent of their resentment. And my
Yeah, if
friends,
I
I
say
think,
something to him, then we have to do something about it. And what if he doesn't
yeah, or
seriously?
if I speak it, it feels more true and
Hmm.
scary.
Hmm.
And I just think, resentment is baked into motherhood.
Yes. Well, it's
A lot of
culturally
times.
normalized, or how should I say, something is common, but it doesn't mean it should be normal. Hmm.
It should definitely not be normal. And we're trained through gender expectations, like we've said, to be the help, like not just the helpers, but the tenders. We tend.
Yeah.
We create an environment that's comfortable for others, right? So we avoid conflict and we can, keep everything calm, cool, and collected so everybody's needs are being met. We're hyper
Part of
attuned to that. We're
nurturing.
aware.
Hmm.
We're responsible.
Hmm.
We want to be useful, right? So we give people peace.
Hmm.
We are the managers. I love this term, cruise director. I'm always like, sometimes if I'm really irritated in my own life and I'm trying to like diffuse the moment, I'll
Yeah,
be
you're
like,
letting
I
someone know without being
feel
too.
like the cruise director right now. I don't know if I applied for that job or not. Not sure.
I would like to draw your attention to the safety boats over here. Does anybody care? Does anybody care? Here I am over
I need a
managing,
life
making
raft.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
Anticipating needs,
gosh.
everyone.
Anticipating that. But like we get burned out. We physically and emotionally don't feel well a
No,
lot.
chronic
And
exhaustion, like weary,
chronic,
my soul, not just like a day's rest is going to do it. And it's like
no,
I
we
need
are
a 6 week vacation by
chronically.
the sea.
It's funny because I started this conversation before we started recording today with Brittany by sharing, like, I didn't feel well earlier because I'm really overwhelmed. There's just a lot of things. Like, I'm fine. Life is lifing.
It's circumstantial.
Midlife is lifing right now. But it's like, wow, I feel it. I'm not feeling well.
Hmm.
And loneliness and isolation, I think,
Yeah,
like, here is
you're too
something that
busy
I
doing stuff.
hear.
Hmm.
Yes, I hear this all the time from my clients. I feel really lonely and isolated, even though I may have moms who I see regularly or friends or whatever, and or maybe I don't. But even if you do, it's like the isolation and loneliness of burnout, because again, that speaking it out loud feels scary.
Yes, yes. And we think
Um,
everybody else has it figured out, right? Like the highlight reel. Like, so we don't know so and
always.
so's got a person coming to clean her house. And also, maybe if she does have a person coming to clean her house, do I feel jealous and resentful because I can't afford that? So, like, now I feel like there's something different here. Or maybe I don't have a parenting village and my like neighbor in my life has tons of people that she relies on for support. Like maybe I don't want to talk to that person about how it feels then because we can feel a shame over the things that contribute to the overfunction as though it's some sort of like moral failing or what is wrong with me that I have to overfunction or do all the things in some way, shape, or form.
Well,
And
I
that
think
I
you're
think
getting there.
contributes to identity as well, right? Like if
It does.
like there's a lot of women, a lot of clients coming in who are a couple years and a couple kids into parenting are like, yeah, I'd like to get back to who I am. First of all, back to. I always hear back to.
Right.
And then we have to do like this grieving process of who you were before is no longer here. She's integrated, she's evolved, but like, who are you now, right? With all this new information, like, who is your sense of self? Because I'm not just somebody's maid, I'm not somebody's cruise director. Like, when do I get to squeak out an hour of something I like for myself or my hobbies or my interests? What do I even like for fun that isn't, quote, productive or for somebody else?
I think you're getting at a really good point here, which is that the more that we overfunction, the longer that we do it, the harder it is to be vulnerable with others because we are
Mm.
so steeped in tending to everybody else that we don't even know anymore why we're feeling so bad a lot. And I think that can be a huge contributor to loneliness and
Mhm.
feeling isolated,
Mhm.
and that lack of vulnerability doesn't it like almost keeps us from being in touch with what we need.
Yes, yes. And I think when you do tell it to people, people get uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Um, this is just any
Especially if
vulnerability, right? People are
yeah.
uncomfortable. And so when somebody else is uncomfortable with our discomfort, sometimes they can say the most unhelpful stuff, right? Like, well, you should just ask for help. And it's like, hey, when you're drowning, you want someone to notice you're drowning. Because how can you get a breath to say, I'm drowning, right? Like, you can't.
You can't.
Someone to notice. And so instead
Someone's like, you're like, somebody just throw me the life raft,
yes,
okay?
overfunctioning is to keep you safe, right? Like we talked about earlier. So if I'm in a circumstance where I need to overfunction, likely I don't feel safe enough to tell other people, hey, I'm tr struggling with my overfunctioning. I need
A
somebody to be
hundred
safe
percent.
enough to notice and say, hey, like something's going on here and I'm worried about you. I notice like every week you talk about you're tired. I ask you how you're like a coworker, right? Every week I notice that you're tired. You talk about like on the
Chronic
weekend, it
exhaustion.
doesn't sound like you're doing anything fun for yourself. And like if somebody were to say to you, like, I don't think you do fun things for yourself and you should take care of yourself more, right? Likely the response somebody feels is shame. Oh, great. Now I'm not even doing a good job doing that. I'm
Like,
my
oh shit, I don't have
good job
any
doing that.
hobbies. What am I doing? I better get a hobby.
Oh my God, I've been doing such a good job taking care of everybody else. Shame on me. I'm not taking care of myself, right? Rather than like, oh, you're right. Thank you for expressing your concern.
Yeah.
We interpret it through this lens of like, I've dropped the ball. I'm not
Yeah.
overfunctioning well enough.
Yeah.
Or I'm having a
And
hard time overfunctioning. I should be doing a good job at it.
yeah, and part of like the hard time too can be I'm so tired. I don't even fuck having a hobby. I want to lay in my
It is my
bed and,
hobby.
ignore the world. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? I'm so tired, and I think exhaustion and health issues often come up with overfunction.
Oh, absolutely. Autoimmune,
Now we're
especially.
talking about, we talked about postpartum, which exhaustion clearly goes hand in hand with postpartum. So, the intersection of those things can be wild.
Mhm.
And then also, down the road, perimenopause.
Yeah.
Perimenopause is the buzzword. I'm going to drop a name here, and if you're not following her or don't know who she is, everybody needs to follow her. Dr. Mary Claire. She is
Yep.
awesome.
Yep. I'll hold
She
up the book.
pull up the
I have it
book.
right here.
We're
This is not the
plugging her. We're
perimenopause. It's
not
the
getting
new
paid.
menopause. No.
We're
No,
not
we're
being
not getting paid. In fact,
sponsored.
I wish I knew she had a
Yeah.
perimenopause
Do you
coming out
want to?
before I bought this one.
Right. Yeah. So she's got a new book
Uh-huh.
that's, I don't know. It's, you
It's
can
the new
pre-order it. I think
perimenopause.
the
And it's
new
blue.
perimenopause.
Blue or purple.
But anyways, and we'll get to all that stuff eventually, I'm sure, in our
Yes.
lovely podcast some other episode. But perimenopause, if you have ADHD, your hormones kick up any symptoms, which is exhausting.
hmm hmm
And also perimenopause is it is so exhausting. I can't, all of a sudden I'm like, why do I feel like I got hit by a bus?
Yeah.
Oh, it's because I'm 5 days out from bleeding and I feel like, or 3 days out from bleeding, and all of a sudden in life I feel like I got hit by a truck in a way I've never felt.
The absolute hormone drop. Yes.
The hormone drop, the
You still
estrogen
got to
drop.
overfunction through it, girl. You still got to. Supposedly, we're giving people permission not to. We're just talking about internal dialogue.
The show must
So I'm,
go on.
yes. And just because this is here doesn't mean the demands go down, but like, yeah, it is very hard. So, like,
Also that
things we think in our head, I'll just do it. It's too hard to ask for help. I may be too tired to even ask for help, right? Is anybody even noticing I'm having a hard time? I could do it faster. It's more energy to ask. I'm tired. I'm better at this than somebody else. Maybe I don't have the patience to teach somebody else to do it to my standard, right? Like, there's a phrase that I heard growing up, like, if you want something done right, do it yourself. Ooh,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
overfunctioner perfectionist motto. Also,
That is like,
gatekeeping
yeah.
motto too, right? Like it's a
Yes.
good way to make sure no one wants to help you. Is if when
Yeah,
they
and then you
try
get
to
to have
help you
more
and they don't do a
resentment.
good job,
Yeah, exactly.
they'll be like,
Exactly.
fuck it, I'm not doing that anymore. For me, one of the tells that I'm getting burnt out or overfunctioning is when I start experiencing things as annoying. This email is annoying, this text is annoying, or this person taking up space for themselves because I am not is annoying, or that person having support is annoying. Like, I don't even know. I'm just thinking of examples, but like,
Overwhelm of being
yeah,
needed constantly
yeah.
becomes untenable. It feels like I hate everybody,
Oh, yeah.
right?
So tough.
Sometimes.
hmm
Yeah, it
I
can.
mostly am like, I just want to be left in my bed with a blanket over my head when I have a hard time. Just don't touch me. Like, can
Okay,
I
so
just
there's
be untouched? A
iterations.
sensory deprivation
Yeah, I'm a
chamber.
little bit further. I'm about to turn 48. Brittany just turned 40. I feel like I really hate everybody sometimes.
I
And I
don't.
may not
I
have
don't.
felt that.
Don't worry,
I
everybody.
may
You don't
not have
have to
felt
feel
that
either of
10
them.
years
Yeah.
ago or 8 years ago, but
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, listen,
I can't wait for that, guys. I look forward to my, well, and I have it'll be teenage sons then too. So, like,
yeah,
listen, I might really,
oh yeah, I've got
maybe they'll hate me and I'll just be crying because I'll be like, where are my babies?
you will. That'll come.
That's what
We'll
I
talk
see,
about that
right?
in another
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah. So
But,
all this to say, like, holy crap, there's a lot to overfunction through and why, right?
ooh, yes. And why are we talking about it, right? And
Well,
it's
because
like,
it feels good. Feels good to let
yes, it
some
feels
literal air into the
good.
room and into the topic, right?
Well, and it's everywhere, right? We're
Yeah.
seeing this as like this tender wound in
Mhm.
the experience of womanhood and parenthood right now. And
Yeah.
we're talking about it, which I love. And we want to shine a light
Yeah.
on how overfunctioning actually shows up for people so that people can start to untangle it and feel a little bit more seen, a
hmm
little bit more heard, and maybe a little bit less lonely, right? If we put words to your experience,
Yes.
then you can feel like, holy shit, what? That's a thing? That's
Yeah.
okay. So we're talking about the why do we care? And then, like, today, what is something maybe tangible that
Oh,
we can
yes,
take
yes.
away?
hmm I think something to notice for us is like when we talk about the anticipating needs is like where am I anticipating them? It's one thing to do it in your family unit where you have the direct consequence, and it's another to do it socially, extended family, or work. And so asking yourself like, was I actually asked to do this? And it's one thing to notice a need, and it's another to just take it on and perform it, right? And so maybe the first task, like in the workplace, if you're an overfunctioner at work and you notice a task, Like literally capitalism loves rewarding go-getters. They're like, if you want the promotion, you should do the job before you get it. And it's like, listen, that's taking free money. Like, no, I'm not doing that. We're not doing that. But you could say, hey, I noticed this thing. Would you like me to take that on? So first, even naming out loud to the person that you perceive should be the responsible one, right? And then taking it on instead of just anticipating and
And what
doing
if that feels really uncomfortable in your body?
it. It will.
So then what?
Well, then maybe it's an indicator that you're doing something that is maybe an overfunction and it's a nervous system
Name
safety
it.
or a worthiness, right?
Yeah,
Or
name it.
a
Yeah.
fawning. Yeah. And so, like, noticing it. And honestly, like, I prefer this also, this concept of sitting with something. And it doesn't mean sit with it like the whole day thinking about it. It's kind of like when you're online shopping and you want to make sure you don't impulsively spend, you should let it marinate for 24 hours and see, do you still want that thing or did you like the dopamine of it, right? And so let me marinate on this task for 24 hours and decide, do I really think it's urgent, worth it? And do I have space for it before I even like do anything about it? And if the answer is like, it's not urgent, maybe that needs to go somewhere else then. Is it worthy or worth it? Not really, then why do it? And is it mine? Is this actually mine or am I assuming it's mine just because I'm a good fucking noticer, right? Just because you're a good noticer doesn't mean that it's yours, right? Like you
Yeah.
could walk through a store at Target and notice many different things are wrong. Are you going to refold the clothes on the table because they're not folded right? I hope not. If you're doing that, listener, please stop. That is not your job. People get,
Please stop.
yeah, please stop. Please stop over. And it's a very, like, do
But I think
3%
if
less.
you're
Uh-oh. What'd you
and
say?
if you're doing that, hey man, and this is kind of a thing in general, but notice what's coming up in your body. So
Yeah.
that
Why
everyone
can't I
can do
handle
that,
that?
right?
Hmm?
If it's really uncomfortable for you to walk by the table and not fold, or if it's really uncomfortable for you to not do the thing, whatever that thing is, fold the clothes
Mhm.
or take over and do it,
Listen,
notice
just
what's
taking
in your
over when
body.
someone else is already doing it, please, let's notice
Yes.
that. That's a thing that's hard to stop instantly, but you do need to start the notice, right? Because
Yeah.
is it me correcting? Is it that there are many different ways for something to be done right? Do I have a preference for how something is folded? And then if it's folded differently, does anything change in my life, or does that towel still dry my skin if it's folded away I didn't like? Right? And so we have to really notice like our preferences that we sometimes make musts that then cause our overfunctioning, right? These beliefs that like it has to be my way. So I think about like what we can practice is like the 3%. What if I just find 3% less functioning, right? Or overfunctioning. We're not talking about cutting back a lot. We're talking about just turning it down
And
just
also,
a bit.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you're like, oh my God, if you're hearing us say 3% and you're like, what the fuck?
Mhm.
Listen, just start with noticing what's going on in your body. Because sometimes we hold on to the overfunction like safety. And when we say, what if you got rid of 3%? You're like, oh my God, oh my God. What? I don't want to. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to.
But honestly, sometimes people will be like, I can't even imagine what 3% would look like, right? Like you think like so much would fall off. So an
Yes.
example that I had been thinking about is like class mom stuff, right? When my kid was in
Mm.
preschool, we had to like take turn for group snack, which I think is annoying anyway because there's so many dietary needs and yada yada. And so it's like, can I just pack my kids' own snack, something I know they'll actually eat? I know there's skills in shared food. I get it, right? But then you look at the calendar and you see that it's open, right? And some of us overfunctioners feel that it is our like guilt or shame or whatever, that it is our job to fill in any open spots, right? So like say you're looking at the snack calendar at class and you're like, I already did my like there's 12 kids in the class and I already did my rotation twice, right? It's somebody else's turn. And what happens if I just let myself wait 24 hours, 48 hours, right? To sign up instead of moving with urgency to fill that discomfort or fill that need. What if I just give space? Somebody else might have urgency and fill it too. That's their problem, or maybe they appropriately should. But what if I just gave it a little bit of time and then check back later and see, do I want to? Do I need to? Is it still available? Right? Because
That's
some,
a great little example,
yeah,
of like what
overfunction.
3% might look like. Yes.
And sometimes you overfunction so much that you don't make space for other people who may also want the opportunity to do the task and it could naturally come off your plate, right? If it's a group effort, some other mom might just have not gotten to the list yet, right? So let her have the opportunity or him, a
Or
dad, right?
dad.
Let's not just
I
assume
was just thinking of that. Or
that,
dad. I'll
even though
never
I
forget.
know, right?
I'll never forget when my daughter was in preschool and my mom went with on a field trip, and my mom said, I just can't believe how many dads are on this field trip. And it's just so interesting generationally, right? Like, no, the expectation is that like a parent would go,
Yeah.
right? Whatever parent, but like for me being, born in 1978, I'm on the tail end of Gen X, and boy, oh boy, my dad never went to anything. I love you, Dad. Love you,
I
Dad.
know mine couldn't because of his job.
Well, my dad was a dentist. Yeah, he had his own practice, right? So like it was my mom's role entirely. But it's so interesting, right? And this is also informs why we do what we do, how we were raised, And so it's like, anyways, that's a side note. But that little preschool nugget, my mom was like, I'm just so surprised, and I'm like, really? I'm
she
surprised
noticed.
how many there are not here. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
There's this study that shows like another example of like the 3% in discomfort that moves us to action is like professors in classrooms, right? And so you ask a question and you have to sit in the silence, right? You have to sit in the silence. And the studies show that after an average of 17 seconds, somebody will speak. 17 seconds. If you guys have never done 17 seconds, it feels so
it
damn.
feels like 5 hours. Yeah.
Especially if you're standing in front of a group of people and they're staring at you, but then everybody's uncomfortable enough, somebody says something. So I think there's a variety. Like there's a discomfort, there's processing time, people thinking over what they want to say or not say. They're wait. Oh, some people always wait for somebody else to go first because they're trying to like just give space, right? And so if you give yourself the 17-second pause on something, even if it's in meetings to volunteer for tasks, I'd be curious to see who else might jump in. And what does that feel like to you if somebody else does volunteer? Do you feel guilt? Do you feel relief? Oh, good, somebody else volunteered, so I don't have to, right? Or is it like, oh, well, I kind of wanted to, or I don't know how to be if somebody else is also doing a task I might overfunction for. This is all really information for the system, right?
Or am I checking it off my list of overfunctioning? And I think that's a good barometer too. Like, are you doing something? Listen, we all have tasks we have to do and we have to check it off. Okay. But
some things are more optional than we give credit for.
Yes. And those could be your 3% tasks. Next time you go to plan something, next time you go to volunteer for something, next time you go to intervene and take something over from your spouse, next time, your kids are asking you to do something that you probably shouldn't, but maybe it's easier to do. That's also overfunctioning.
Yeah, the group text. The group text is a perfect overfunction, right? Where you feel you experience a lot of demand and you have to be responsive and I got to read it all and I got to do the whole thing and I got to have the answer for every person. And it's like, what if the group text just keeps moving and I chime in whenever I'd feel like it?
I love that example. That's very relatable. And I feel like most women have a group text that they experience that with 100%.
Yeah.
And
well, and you and I being in sessions all the time, we like if you're in a back-to-back 6 hours, like I missed out the whole group
responding. Also, maybe I'm looking at it on a break, but like I'm not responding, or am I responding because I feel like I have to? And I love you, friends. If my friends are listening to this, listen, I love you guys, and I know how to set boundaries for myself. I'm much better now at responding because I want to.
Yes, we know what we can handle or not because after 15 plus years of therapy.
But it doesn't mean it's not a struggle. And I think it's a relatable struggle.
I agree.
So,
yeah, wow, overfunctioning. So much stuff, right?
Yes,
and this is just the intro.
This is just, today is just the first, we hope that you will listen to us and we hope that this was in some way, helpful. Thank you for listening to Overfunctioning.
Yeah. I want to know what else people want to hear about too, by the way. Like they can let us know.
Me too. How can they let us know, Brittanie?
They can comment on our YouTube. Maybe we'll do some Instagram. We have an email, overfunctioningpodcast@gmail.com. And in the show notes, our websites will be linked. And this will be posted on YouTube. And we'll be posting it on Spotify for sure. And so there'll be some content.
I'll put it on Instagram on my Jolene Altman LCSW.
Yeah.
If you like what you heard today, share with a friend. Come back and listen again. If you have, feedback, hey man, we want to hear from you. We love these people, right? We are these people. We are the overfunctioner.
Because we love you, we want to talk about it.
Yes. Since this isn't therapy, if you want Jolene or Brittanie to be your therapist and you live in Missouri or Illinois, Brittanie is licensed in both Missouri and Illinois, and Jolene only in Illinois. You can find some links in the show notes to contact us about our practices. And really, the message I want you to take away today is you do not have to carry it all alone.
Take care.